ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about...
Hello? Hello? Am I live? Am I live? I don't know. I can't see anything. I can't see anything. So I did something and I set up and I can't see if anyone's watching. I don't know what I'm doing. Hang on. No. No, they need to stay there. Hang on. No, I'm doing things and I don't know what's happening. Pop that out. I'm going to have to just... I don't know. But hello, welcome to the 5 Games for Doomsday stream. If there's anybody there. And, yeah. Excellent. I hope this is working. Because I'm back to using... I'm using OBS. And I've added some things. So hopefully the chat and that is working. Oh, I forgot to turn on my Mario Cube. There we go, look. Lovely. And when you turn it off... Amazing. Anyway, hello, welcome to the 5 Games for Doomsday stream, if there's anyone watching. And I've got to work out how to do that. I've got to work out how to do that later. All right, so, yes. What have I got to talk about today? So we're going to answer some of your questions, and if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. And I think... so, hang on a minute. I've just got to do something. Chat. Unlock that. Let's do it like that. That looks like it's better. Okay. Chat is working. Dave Moser says chat is working. See? I do that. You got that coming up, and what should happen is the chat should go down, and then I can select chats. Isn't this great? I managed to do it. Also, if you want, what I'd recommend, which is really quite cool with this new thing that I'm using, is pop a string of emojis into the chat and see what happens. I think it's very cool. So if Dave's the only person there, I can't see. I've got to work out. I'll do that next time. But pop a string of emojis into the chat and then hit the send button and see what happens. Cool stuff happens. This is very exciting. Anyway, welcome, to the stream. It's all very exciting because I'm using new technology and all of that sort of stuff. And I'm flying blind, as I said, because I can't see how many people are watching, and that's quite sort of it's quite discombobulating. But so just to start, I just wanted to say that. And I'll start with this. I don't want to push it too hard, but I'll start with it. I just wanted to say that, for the last few weeks, my YouTube channel has been monetized. And what that means for the live stream is that you can, if you like the songs or you like the stream or you want to support the podcast and you don't already back the Patreon, you can pop in super chats. Using the button, you hit the button and you can pop in super chats, and any contribution would be massively gratefully received, though of course there's no pressure on anybody to do anything. And what else do I want to talk about? So also I'll start with the sell. Patreon. 5 Games for Doomsday does a lot of stuff. We do a lot of podcasts. I just got off the phone with Volko Runke talking about Hunt for Blackbeard. And we do a lot of stuff, a lot of podcasts, a lot of traveling 5 Games for Doomsday now. And while most of those trips are sponsored, the podcast costs money. Being able to do this costs money, having the time to do this. And so I have a Patreon, which helps me. I do other work, I do acting work, I do teaching work, but the Patreon is a large amount of how I support myself. So if you ever feel like you want to help the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D. If you pledge at €5 a month, you have access to hours of bonus content. And I'm just thinking about bonus videos to put up, probably video chats with my podcast partner, Steven Syrek. We have battle reports over there where we play a game and we report on them as we're playing. Some of them are fantastic because there's a lot of emotion sometimes when I lose. So there's that. We have a movie show, which we have to do by the end of this month. My God, we've got 2 days. A movie show where we watch a movie that's associated to board games. We talk about it. We've done Clue. We've done Battleship, which is terrible, by the way. We did The Seventh Seal, because they play chess in it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. They say it's one of the greatest. Don't know. I didn't love it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't love it. But yes. So there's loads of stuff over at the Patreon. And even if there wasn't loads of stuff, you're helping this to get done. I think I get some great people on. And yeah, that's the Patreon. So what has 5G4D been up to? Give me a second. What has 5G4D been up to? Well, loads of good stuff. So coming out next Monday is Ellie Dix. She is a game designer, game consultant. She's been in the business for ages, won loads of awards. So the main show with her. Published today, the Spielworks Bulletin. It's the sponsored podcast I do with Uli Blennerman of Spielworks. And we talk about his life in the industry and general industry things. And it's a really interesting one because we talk about the Spiel des Jahres because the nominations will be coming up. And Uli's criticisms of the Spiel des Jahres. And I don't entirely agree with his criticisms. And while I wouldn't say the podcast gets heated, Uli isn't that kind of person, certainly there's more disagreement in this episode than usual. And it's a really good listen, I think. And what else? We published the news show on Monday. That's where I interview people, but also if you're a Patreon member, you get an official nickname if you join the Patreon, and that's where we give the nicknames on the news show every month. And I interviewed someone who's just published a Ticket to Ride cookbook, which is interesting, and then also someone who's published a book about accessibility in games, and he's an academic and that sort of thing, and it's a fascinating interview. And so the news show was really good. And also on last Friday, we published the actual play podcast we're doing now of D&D. Steve, for one of my birthdays, bought me a big D&D book with a big module. And it's really great. And we're doing it as a live podcast. Well, not live. I edit it as well. But it's really good. The players are great. I run it as the DM. It's really funny. It's worth a listen. And I highly recommend you listen to that. That's the Temple of Elemental Evil, and that came out last Friday. And I would recommend you go back. You can go back to the first episode. There's been 6 episodes now. You can go back to not this one, but the one before. That's where we actually start with everyone around the table. But I would recommend going back to the beginning, where there's 4 prologue episodes with one-on-one play between each character. So you get to know the 4 characters that are playing. Costin says, what's up? And it's great. If you see, look, the emoji floats across the screen. Costin, can you do me a favour? Can you put a string of emojis into the chat and then hit send? And then we'll see what happens with the string of emojis. I think it's brilliant. I did this today. I'm very proud of myself. And yeah, so that's sort of what 5G4D's been up to. I also published on the YouTube channel a review of Bloodstones. Spoiler, I loved it. I think it's really good. And the next review will be going up probably next week because I've been away. I went to Vienna. And so the next review will be the Shakespeare expansion for Unmatched. I've not played Unmatched before. People say it's fabulous, and I never really thought about it until they did the Shakespeare version. And I love Shakespeare, and Steve, my podcast partner, loves Shakespeare, and so I think it's going to be really good fun. We're going to do a battle report, and then I'm going to do a review of it. My reviews tend to be, a little bit more serious, and the battle reports are frankly moronic, but really good fun to listen to. And you can listen to the battle reports on the Patreon. Yeah, so that's it. So, I guess what's the time now? Oh, it's 9:10. So, I'm going to answer your questions in a bit, and if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat, and I will answer them. I'd love some questions. I've already elicited some questions, but I would love some questions if you could give me some. And I'm going to play a song now. Give me a second. I've just got to pull up the chords. Oh, and I've got to put a capo on my guitar. There we go. Give me a second. Okay. This is a song by Bon Iver. It's off Bon Iver's second album. This is the best song on the album, maybe the best song Bon Iver ever done. It's a beautiful song. And look at that, Dave. Look. The emojis are bouncing across the screen. I am so proud of myself to have been able to do that. I don't know why they're also sea-themed, but nevertheless. And if people want to do that for the whole stream, please feel free. Alright, so this is called Holocene. It's a brilliant song. Some way, baby, it's part of me, apart from me. Hang on, I gotta get the capo on correctly. Okay. Some way, baby, it's part of me, apart from me. You lay in ways to Halloween. Fucked a friend, it's on its head, it struck the street. You're in Milwaukee, off your feet. And I once I knew I was not magnificent. Straight above the highway, jagged fake and slick with eyes. And I could see for miles, miles, miles. Third and Lake, it burnt away the hallway. Was where we learned to celebrate. On a night it brought the years you took from me. The night you played me lit parade. Not the needle, no, the thread that lost a cream. Saying nothing that's enough for me. And I once I knew I was not magnificent. Huddled from the highway, jagged fake and slick with eyes. And I could see for miles, miles, miles. Christmas light, it clutched the light, the hollow bright above my brother eye, entangled spines. You smoked the screen to make it what it was to be. Now I know it in my memory. And I once I knew I was not magnificent. High above the highway, jagged fake and thick with eyes. And I could see for miles, miles, miles. There we go, Bon Iver. I think all the Bon Iver albums are pretty good, but I think the second one is my favourite. It's the songwriting is just fantastique. Oh my god, look at this! Everyone's putting. Now I've got to work out. Hang on, give me a second. I'm having issues with the chat. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I think. Let's do that. Lovely. This is all very much teething issues. Been curious about Bloodstones, and now I am more. Yeah, I mean, watch the review. I think it's good. Hang on, let me try something here. Give me a second. Oh, that's better. Oh, that's better, isn't it? Yes, there we go. Yeah, and then I can highlight. So, for instance, I can say... Give me a second. I can say, I've been curious about Bloodstones, now I am more. Yeah, I think it's really good. Bloodstones is a really sort of old-school combat game. It's... You know, Martin's such a great designer, and he makes good, entertaining games, and I'd highly, highly recommend giving Bloodstones a try if you can. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so... Now, where were we? Yes, I'm going to answer your questions. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat and I'll answer them. But I did elicit some questions from the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, please go to 5g4d.com, click on the pin post and you can join the Discord. The chat in there is high quality. I don't really do much because I'm not very bright, but there are some really clever people saying some really interesting stuff. You can also respond to the hashtag channel thread, which means you can get featured on the podcast. Loads of great stuff. It's really worth it. But now I'm going to answer some questions. Give me a secondo. See if this works. So, Jens de Hammer Folkman asks, which games would you use to set up the weekly schedule of cabin tasks? Because, obviously, I live in a cabin in the woods because I've escaped the apocalypse. And the thing is, when I started the podcast in 2015, 2018, 2017, 5 years, 6 years, it'll be 6 years in a month. No, it's been 6 years. It was 6 years in February, I guess. So yeah, wow. I made up this whole thing about it being an apocalypse, and it was hilarious and that. And then you look at the world now, not so funny anymore, is it? Anyway, which games would you use to set up the weekly schedule of cabin tasks? So you need various games, I think. So you need some games that are used to just train sort of organizational skills. So you need Euro games. And something like, I think, something like Le Havre, the inland port, with that wonderful way that you count resources in the game. That would be perfect to help you sort of plan a rota and help you deal with resources. Then you would need something like Croconaut, some dexterity game that would train you throwing stuff in the bin. So that would be great. And then you need something, I think partly people are going to be doing the hoovering. They're going to be doing the washing up, washing the clothes, all of that. But also part of the task in the cabin is shooting the zombies in the face. So, zombie-size, isn't it? So you get zombie-size and you can practice shooting zombies in the face and that. And it wouldn't help because it's a board game and it's not really helping with actual shooting. If it really was the apocalypse, I would be dreadful because I can't fire a gun, I can't use a hammer. I'm essentially a useless human being in many ways. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. If you've got any... Also, pop in the chat, tell me how you would do in the apocalypse. What skills do you have in the apocalypse that would be useful in the cabin? Because, you know, the 5G4D cabin is going to be the coolest cabin in the apocalypse. So, just, you know, you need to audition to come in. So, if you're not Reiner Knizia, it's going to be harder for you to get in there. So, tell me, put in the comments, what skills do you have that will help you in the cabin? All right, next question. This is a long one. I don't know how much this will fit, but I'll give it a go. You've spoken of the trend in recent Euro design to strip away interactivity and instead focus on a pleasant play that won't create moments of aggression. Is it possible that the growth in solo board games... Give me a second. I will get better at this. This is... I'm going to put this as 2 questions. So, give me a second. Is it possible that the growth in solo board games has led to this? So you've spoken of the trend in recent year design to strip away the interactivity and instead focus on a pleasant play that won't create moments of aggression. Is it possible that the growth in solo board games has led to this? No. I don't think so. Because I still think, by and large, solo gamers make up a... Hang on a minute. Teething troubles, people. Teething troubles. Give me a second. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? Yeah, I think people who play solo games are still massively the minority in gamers. I think the reason people love games is because it affords you the opportunity to get around a table, whether that's with your family and spend quality time, whether it's friends, or whether it allows you to meet new people. I think that's the core reason people play board games as opposed to video games. And of course, there's a lot of crossover between those two groups. And I think there is a wrong-headed assumption based upon often the loudest voices in the hobby and based upon BGG. I think there is this assumption that people like a pleasant experience rather than a tense experience. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I just think that I guess there is this idea, because sometimes games do. Sometimes you're playing a game and it's just like, oh my God, this is so annoying. And you lose your shit and you stop being a mature adult human being. And there are times like this in games. And I think that there's this assumption. And there's also, you've got to bear in mind, there is the way games are sold is that people play them, they hype them, other people sell them. There's a real desire to minimize negative interactions with games. That's why games should be very easy to engage with when you first play them, and they should be nice and unchallenging. I'm not a big fan of that. I like games that are quite interactive and quite nasty. And I think more people do. I think, especially when it comes to new people, when it comes to new people joining the hobby, they're coming from a world in which Monopoly is the reference point often. And Monopoly's nasty if you play it right. And so I think there is this idea that people want a nice experience, and actually people want a fun experience. This is why Ticket to Ride is so great, because you get to beat up on people. Ticket to Ride is an incredibly nasty game, actually, and a brilliantly nasty one. This is why it's so good. This is why Carcassonne is so good, too, is because Carcassonne gives you this impression of being this beautiful, relaxing tile game. And in reality, it's a bastard. And I love that about it. And that's what new gamers coming into the hobby, by and large, are looking for, I think, because that's their reference point. So I don't think it's the growth in solo board gaming. I think it's a misinterpretation of what new gamers want and what a gateway game is. Give me a second. There's a second question here that I'm going to put in. So a designer can pretty easily... This is from Matt Coates, by the way. A designer can pretty easily drop a solo variant into a game like Earth since there's hardly any interaction to begin with, whereas a game like Tigris and Euphrates or Carcassonne make no sense as a... Give me a second. It's teething troubles. Make no sense as a solo experience. So I'll read the whole question again. Give me a second. A designer can pretty easily drop a solo variant into a game like Earth, since there's hardly any interaction to begin with, whereas a game like Tigris and Euphrates or Carcassonne make no sense as a solo experience. Is this growth in the market leading publishers to favour designs that allow for solo play? No. I don't think so necessarily, but there is a desire on the part of publishers, I think, to try and have solo experiences in their games because it's a great marketing tool, and to some degree I think it's expected. I think it's expected to have a solo variant. And someone talked about this question prompted a lot of subsequent comments on the Discord. And some people said, I just don't understand solo games. And for me, if I play solo, I like games that are intended for solo play, not just an add-on. Because I'm not a solo player by and large, but Friday is wonderful. One of the games I'm going to rank tonight when I have a public rank, when I have a rank in public, is a solo game. And it's a great solo game. It's really done well. But I think I get the impression publishers, because people are loud and the people who are most into things tend to be the loudest, I think people overestimate how many people want a solo variant in a game. I think people overestimate how many people, if you look at Maracaibo, there's a narrative campaign. People don't want a narrative campaign in a Euro game. They understand that the game is the thing. As long as the game's brilliant, that's fine. You don't need a ham-fisted narrative to take you through. You don't need a campaign. So, yeah, I don't think they're favouring games that have solo play. But you could say that maybe there are some clunky solo implementations because, you got to have a solo variant. And I don't think you have to have a solo variant. So I was saying, pop in the chat what qualifications you have to survive the apocalypse. Any questions for me on any subject, I'll be happy to answer them. But first of all, it's 1:30 hour. I'm going to play another song. I'm playing a lot of sort of indie rock from the 90s, 2000s. Stuff I was really into. This is a song from Pavement. This is a song from their first album, Slanted and Enchanted. And it is maybe the best song on the album. And it is brilliant. And I'm not going to play the intro, which might be the best part of the song, because I was trying to learn it before this stream. And it's an alternative tuning, and I just didn't have time. So I'm just going to play the chords, because I'm not much of a guitarist. But this is a great song. Can you treat it like an oil well when it's underground, out of sight? And if the sight is just a horse sign, can it make enough sense to me? Pretend the table is a trust knot. We put our labels down, favors down. I'll watch a yard of twine with wrathful, and you'll never get it back. It's what I want, it's what I want. It's what I want, twine comes down. It's what I want, it's what I want. Don't you know I could make a try, make a try, make a try, make a try. I've been crowned king of it, and it is all we have. So wait to hear my words, and the damage sharp. I could open it up, and it's up and down. There we go. What a tune. Pavement. That first album, Slanted and Enchanted, I first heard it when I was like 15 or something. Truly one of my formative and one of the greatest albums ever made. Love it. So Tony Bosca says, if you like Pavement, you might like Silkworm, an amazing band with similar vibes from the era. Firewater is an excellent album. Fantastic. And did the emojis fly across the screen? Because I love that. That's the favourite thing I've done probably in the last 6 months. My biggest achievement of the last year is getting 5gford.com as a domain name, and then learning how to do the thing where the emojis fly across the screen. So, if you've got any questions for me, pop them in the chat. If you want to make emojis fly across the screen, just pop loads of emojis into the chat, hit send, and they'll all fly across the screen. Excellent. So, we have another question. Give me a second. So, famed board game designer Isaac Shalev asks a personal question here. Which is... Oh, hang on. I'll answer yours in a minute, Costin. Do you play games with your missus? Is gaming with her different? I do. Well, I met her at a game night, so... She is not a massive hardcore gamer like me, right? We played Bloodstones, and it wasn't her kind of thing. But she plays... We played two-player games. We played Votes for Women recently together, and it was great. And it's because, you know, I'm the gamer and I have a podcast. I'm supposed to win all the time, and I just bloody don't win all the time. So I never win games. Is gaming with her different? No. It's the only thing that's different is because she's not a hardcore gamer. There's certain games we wouldn't play together because it's... I mean, when you know you're not going to enjoy it, what's the point, right? But in terms of the way I act, in terms of the having a laugh when she's there with my friends, it's no different. I try not to treat people in my life differently. You know, I mean, obviously our relationship is different than it is with my friends or whatever, but in a social environment, you know, she's my friend like my other friends, so I like to treat people sort of like that, I guess. Would you sacrifice yourself for the group and play a game you simply don't like? Depends. Oh, look at that! Oh, look at that! The spaceships are flying across the screen. I love it. I love this. It's the best thing I've done. It's the best thing I've done all day. Okay, if you're a hardcore gamer, then we'll play Bloodstones on Thursday. Alright? Bloodstones on Thursday. You'll love it. And then we'll play a coin game later. Would you sacrifice yourself for the group and play a game you simply don't like? As I say, depends. So there's these people who say, "Ooh, like it's the people, not the games," and that's just clearly not true. It's just clearly not true, right? The games are important. Mostly, I'm fine with most games. I quite like most games, and there's very few games. The problem is if I really hate the game, right? I'm not sacrificing myself for the group because I'm an arse, and so I'm very vocal in my lack of appreciation for something, so I'd ruin it for everybody. So by and large, if I really don't like the game, you don't really want to play it with me. Play it with someone else. I'm happy to go and play games with other people, a different game. But if I'm not hugely warm on the game, let me think of a sort of game that I think is okay. A game I don't think is very good, but I would have no objection to playing. It would be Expeditions, for instance. I don't think it's a very good game, but I'd play it again if someone really wanted to play it. I'm not so against that game that I wouldn't sit down and play it. Playing games is fun. Most games are great, and some are obviously better than others, right? Do you know what I mean? This question from BJ Shrimpy Gumbo is hilarious. Give me a second. Have you ever given a commencement address? Would you? What pithy advice would you say? So, obviously, I've never given a commencement address. Why would a university or a high school invite me to give a commencement address? I've literally done nothing. So, no, I haven't given a commencement address. Would I? Absolutely. I love speaking in public. I would absolutely do it. And what pithy advice would you say? It's a difficult one, isn't it? I guess there's a couple of things. One, you don't ever have to do anything. So this idea that if you're in a job and you feel completely stuck in that job, you don't have to do anything. There are always other options in life. And secondly, never let your ambition and your desire, never let your ambition be too narrow that it ruins your life. You can decide that you really want to do this one thing, but life isn't fair. Stuff happens. And if not achieving that thing makes you so unhappy that it ends up affecting the whole of your life, that is a problem. So always keep your ambition broad and general as possible. And then you'll be able to find joy in things. I'm not good at that, but I find through doing this podcast that I'm able to do stuff that is creative, that I'm satisfied with. And if I was making a load more money, I'd be a lot more comfortable with my life. It's a financial thing rather than a frustration at my life thing in many ways. So keep your ambitions broad. Don't expect stuff to work out. But it not working out may mean it works out another way. I don't bloody know. I'll have to write an essay. If I'm ever asked to write a commencement address, then I'll get back to you. But I'm certainly not optimistic. So, I can't remember who asked this question, but this is quite a good one. Would you have just as much fun playing games if you were constantly winning? No. Well, depends, I think. It's the whole hoary old Knizia quote, winning is the goal, but playing the game is more important than the goal sort of thing. It depends on the nature of winning. Firstly, I think this is Jens de Hammer Volkmann, maybe, and I think he's implying that I'm not very good at games. But would it be so much fun if you were constantly winning? Depends on the notion of winning, right? Like, I used to play tennis quite a bit, and I would play tennis with people who were of equal skill. Then I would play people who were much better than me, and then I'd play people who were worse than me. Playing the people who were much better and much worse was terrible, because neither of you get anything out of it. If I played chess against a grandmaster, what would be the bloody point? Neither of us would get anything out of it. But playing with people who are of a comparable skill level, and most of the people I play with are probably better than me at games, I would say, but there's not loads in it. It's not like I'm uncompetitive mostly. And so if I increased my winning a bit more, it would be more lol-tastic because I'd be able to crow a bit more. But if I was just smashing people every time and that was my game group, it would be crap, right? So yes, depends on the context of winning, I guess, is the thing. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. So, for the context of the people watching this, On the news show, we have an AMA at the end of every news show, once a month. And okay, quickly, Tony Bosco says, you'll run into something like this in Memoir 44, where asymmetry creates uneven sides. If you win with the underdog, it's doubly good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. We love the underdog by our nature, and if you're the underdog and you manage to win, it's twice as serious. It's twice as exciting. If the game is pitted against you, that's a double victory, and that's wonderful. And yeah. And I play with computer programmers and systems analysts and all of this. So if ever I win, it's great. And then I win at the games where you have to shout a lot. Scott Brown asked, do you anticipate the gaming market swinging back to the games of old that aren't just pretty boxes of mechanisms? It's interesting, isn't it? So I think the biggest driver of the current sort of design ethos, for good and evil, is Kickstarter. There's no question that completed games have stuff pulled out of them so they can be added as expansions or they can be added as expansions or stretch goals, right? That is the antithesis of good design in games. And this came up, I guess, because we've been playing Richard Breeze games recently, older Richard Breeze games, 15-year-old games, and they're brilliant, and they're self-contained things. There's no anticipation of expansions. They are self-contained games, and that for me is better design. The business model has instigated this idea of half a design as the base game and then the rest of the design filled in. I think that's different. I think it's different to publishing expansions to fix a broken base game. I think that's just incompetence. That's a different thing. I don't think there are certain games that do that and certain publishers that do that, and I don't think that's a terrible conspiracy. I just think it's a lack of rigorousness. There's something, when I look at the Castles of Burgundy Super Deluxe Edition, I think it's wrong somehow, and it somehow devalues the game in some way. These games were enjoyable somehow because of the modesty of their production. And when you do a super deluxe version, I recorded a podcast with Uli Blenderman today, and he said, the buildings are impractical. You can't see the rest of the board. They inhibit the game. And so, yeah, I hope we swing back. It's not so much the production that bothers me, though I think that's an issue. I hope we swing back to games that are completed works within the box. And within the box, you've got a game that's brilliant, and you're not working towards expansions. And if expansions come later because the designer had a great idea, brilliant. But, some of the great games... Now, I don't know if Reef Encounter has an expansion, but I've only played the base game, and I can tell you it doesn't need one. It is a perfect, mean, and nasty game that I would highly recommend. And so, I hope we go back to that. I hope we go back to games that are self-contained. Unless they demand it. If they're campaign games. Arkham Horror, the living card game, lives on expansions, and that's wonderful. But I like my Euro games to be self-contained. So I can't remember who asked this one. But do you miss having Steve pick a random number on the news show? Yeah. And for some reason he took real objection to it, so I stopped. And it seemed to me that he genuinely took exception to it, which blew my mind. Because, rolling a die for something is great, right? Or having a random number generator. And, of course, I was trolling him a bit. But, yeah, so I decided not to because he seemed genuinely bothered by it. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? All right. How do I unselect a question? I don't know. Teething Troubles. So I'm going to play one more song. and then I'll rank my games, and then I'll go. I might even treat myself to a cheeky beer. Because the one great thing about living in Berlin is that they have all-night beer shops, so I can go and get myself a beer. So part of being young is being into stuff that people don't know about because it's cool. And there was a band that I got really into in the 90s that was an offshoot of Pavement, who were my favourite band at the time. And it was two of the guys out of Pavement and a guy they'd been to college with who was a poet and songwriter. And the band was called the Silver Jews. And Dave Berman was the singer and the songwriter in the band. Absolutely brilliant. A very strange voice. You wouldn't say he was the greatest singer in the world, but nevertheless, brilliant. And I loved the Silver Jews, especially their album American Water, which I think is their best work. And Silver Jews broke up, and Dave Berman, the singer, kind of disappeared for 10 years. And then released a new album with a new band called Purple Mountains that I think was probably the best work he'd ever done. But there is no question that he was a deeply, deeply unhappy man. And after releasing this album, he took his own life. And he was one of those people who I'd felt like I'd been on a journey with him through my adolescence into my adult life. And so it was very strange when he passed away. And so I didn't listen to the Purple Mountains album for about 6 months. I just felt like I couldn't. And then I finally did listen to it, and it is heart-wrenching, but incredible. And he leaves nothing not declared. And this song is from that album, and it is brilliant and sad. And I'm going to sing it in that. Let me just make sure my guitar's in tune.
Tonight as the sun sings in the west, a lot of my life is going out tonight with someone she just met. She kept it burning longer than I had the right to expect. A lot of my life is going out tonight without a flicker of regret. Darkness and cold rolls in through the holes in the stories I've told. Conditions I'm wishing weren't taking control. Darkness and cold, darkness and cold. A lot of my life is going out tonight. Don't look too depressed. A lot of my life is going out tonight in a pain.
go. What a tune. I highly recommend the Purple Mountains album. It is, well said, Ben. Hang on. R.I.P. David Berman, indeed. And his poetry is wonderful as well. Actually, I will read, before we rank, I will read a quick Dave Berman poem that I thought was absolutely brilliant. This is called New York, New York by David Berman. The title's very clever too. A second New York is being built, a little west of the old one. Why another? No one asks. Just build it, and they do. The city is closed. The city is still closed off to all but the work crews, who claim it's a perfect mirror image. Truthfully, each man works on the replica of the apartment building he lives in, adding new touches like cologne dispensers, rock gardens and doorknobs marked for the grand hotels. Improvements here and there done secretly and off the books. None of the supervisors notice or mind. Everyone's in a wonderful mood, joking, taking walks through the side streets that the single reporter allowed inside has described as unleavened with reminders of the old city's complicated past, but giving off some blue perfume from the early years of Earth. The men grow to love the peaceful town. It becomes more difficult to return home at night, which sets the wives to worrying. The yellow soups are cold, the sunset's quick. The men take long breaks on the fire escapes, waving across the quiet spaces to other workers, meditating on their perches. Until one day, the sky fills with charred clouds, tool belts rattle in the rising wind. Something is wrong. A foreman stands in the avenue, pointing binoculars at a massive grey mark moving towards us in the eastern sky. Several voices. What? What is it? Pigeons, he yells through the wind. That's a great poem. Highly recommend reading David Berman's poetry. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to do a quick public rank. I think I've got this all set up. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. Think I've got it all set up. All I've got to do, theoretically, is press a button and we're there. Boom. Hey, I love it when it works. All right, so this is shelf number 8, I believe. If you've got any comments on these games, please feel free. So, first one, Prodigal's Club. If this is a sequel to Last Will, and if this was Last Will, I would probably put it in the masterpiece category because I think it's wonderful. I haven't played this enough. I've only played it a few times, but I don't think it's outstanding. I think it's solid. Vladimir Suchý is a very solid game designer, but this, I hate to say it, is a minor work of his. Under Falling Skies. I'm not going to put it in the masterpiece category, although it's great. I'm going to put it as outstanding. It's a really cool... Matthew Coates... Hello, God, I'm sorry. Yes, you are. I've answered all your questions. Serrated. But you can go back. You can go back and watch the on-demand. I'm having a bit of a rank. Yeah, Under Falling Skies, brilliant. And I highly recommend, if you're not a solo gamer, and I got into solo games because of the little difficulty we had around 2020. But if you've not played solo games, Under Falling Skies is a brilliant place to start. It's really good. It's really good. It's the top level of outstanding. It's not quite a masterpiece, but it's the top level of outstanding. The Networks. Oh, this is difficult because I really like the Networks. No, I'm putting it here. I think Gil is an incredible designer, and I think he's I'm sure he's happier now, but he is a real loss to the board game industry, I think. His games are really good and very rigorous and brilliantly designed, but also very simple. And he was someone who really thought, probably still does think about game design. And I have another of Gil's games is on here. And I think, I don't know, a couple of Gil's games are on here, actually. I don't know, maybe it was the fact that High Rise didn't do so well. that sort of put pay to his company. But High Rise is brilliant. And I'm going to play that next week, I think. I'm going to play that next week at game night. I'm going to play High Rise. If you've played High Rise, pop it in the chat and tell me what you think. I think it's great. Very underrated. Now, no doubt with this one, Hansa Teutonica is one of the great games. It is one of the great games. This is I would call it a Euro game. It is incredibly simple. It is incredibly mean, and it is brilliant. It is really, truly one of the great games out there. If you've not played Hansa Teutonica, and it takes that design ethos, simple rules, incredibly deep play. It is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. And I'm so glad. There are some games that I own that I feel privileged to own, and Hansa Teutonica is one of them. Absolutely, it's a perfect game in many ways. Viva Java, the dice game, I'm going to put here. I think I've rated My Father's Work, which I think is brilliant and ambitious and exciting. Viva Java is also really good, the dice game. I've not played the board game. Really, really good, and I highly recommend you give it a go. It's a super solid game, and I feel like playing this one again. And the German production is really great on this one. I got the German version, and you don't need... It's language independent. But the German version's really good. I might play this again. Wordsy. Now, this is going to be controversial, I think. But I'm putting Wordsy as a masterpiece. I think Wordsy is the word game. When people think word games, they think Scrabble, and it's a nightmare. And I interviewed someone for the podcast. They made a really interesting statement about Scrabble. Is they said the reason people have a hard time with Scrabble is they assume Scrabble is a game for making words. And that's not correct. If you assume Scrabble is a game, is an area control war game about controlling space, you have a much better time playing it. Wordsy is a game about making words. It is, and it's a really brilliantly designed, really open game. It is a brilliant word game, and it should be more successful because it's absolutely fantastic. Iron Curtain. So Asger and Daniel went through this phase, 2 games of designing sort of Twilight Struggle, short versions of Twilight Struggle. This one's really good. I'm going to put this here. This one's really good. I think it's called 8 Days. I've also got this somewhere. Where is it? I can't see it at the moment, but 14 Days or 11 Days or something it's called, which is also really great and better than this, I think. But Iron Curtain's really good. Ganymede, I'm going to put here. There's another game of his that I have on my shelves. It was one of the first games I ever bought, and I absolutely adore, and I will get to that. Hope S. Hwang, I think his name is. Great. And but this one's really good. It's a good little card game. Not the best game in the world, but a good little card game, and I would recommend it. Vast Mysterious Mansions, come on, it's on the cusp of these two. I love this game. And I think the Mysterious Manors version is better than the Crystal Caverns version. And it is a shame that it's not as well thought of as it is. And if we're talking about production, this is a game that really lends itself to minis. And I've painted my minis, and they look really cool. And it's great, and it's a brilliant game, and I would highly recommend you play it. Some asymmetrical games are sort of bogged down with how asymmetrical they are. I think this one really works. Although I did play with someone who took 22 minutes to do their turn once, and I almost murdered them. Dreadful Circus. I'm going to put Dreadful Circus here. It's a sort of solid bluffing game. Designed by Bruno Faiduti, who makes these really nice games. Oh, what have I done? Hang on, there we go. Who makes brilliant simple games, and I highly recommend Dreadful Circus. Best game in the world? No. Really good, though. Rival Networks is, of the games here, No, I'm going to put it outstanding. It's a really good two-player game. It's a really good two-player. It's not as good as the Networks, but it's a really good two-player implementation of his game. And then a game that a lot of people don't like, I think, but I absolutely love, and I'm going to put it at the top end of outstanding. Of the outstanding games here, it's my favourite, and that's War of the Ring, the card game. I've had so much fun with this. Only play it at 4 players in teams, but I've had so much fun. Really enjoyable. If you're thinking about, because this is a relatively new one, if you're thinking about buying this, I'd give it a go. I've really enjoyed it, but only play it at 4. Excellent. Well, that seems as if it's everything, no? Thank you so much. And let's how do I do this? I'm so enamored of this. I'm such a child. Give me a second. I'm just putting loads of emojis in because then they bounce around. Oh, I put too many things in. Oh, hang on. There we go. And then they bounce around the screen. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So, thank you so much for joining this stream. It's been lovely again. I'm probably going to nip out and have a beer because it's really warm in this room and I'm under film lights and it's really hot. But thank you so much for watching and have a great week. And I'll see you next week, same time, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday.